Victims continue testimonies at the Truth Commission over right abuses by the National Intelligence Agency. European countries tighten measures as coronavirus cases continue to rise. Two candidates submit nomination papers at IEC Regional Office ahead of the Nyamina West by-election. These and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello, this is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. And we begin with matters of the TRC, where more victims who suffered human rights violations in the hands of the National Intelligence Agency have come forward to testify at the public hearings of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission. The latest to testify is Musa Cham, a businessman who said he was unlawfully arrested and detained by the dreaded intelligence agency. Aissatou Tamba has more details of that in this report.
61-year-old Musa Cham, a native of Sukuta village, is a businessman who deals with construction materials at the Serikunda market. Cham told the Truth Commission on Monday that he was arrested and detained twice at the National Intelligence Agency on allegations of unfinished land transfer to one Lalo Kante, whom he said claimed to have paid the full amount of the land. He also said his compound was unlawfully confiscated.
Official transfer no be there, approval no be babala.
All the official transfer was there, the approval was all there, but he requested for me to hand over those documents to him, and I refused until he pays me my balance. He said to me, Demambai said to me, "Are you aware that this guy has already paid you in full?" Then I said to him, he has not completed his payment. He only gave me 25,000, which I used to prepare these documents. He said to me, "You will have to call someone to come here and bail you, and that individual has to come with his or her ID card." Then I called Imam Fati, my nephew, and my elder sister, whom we share the same father, Aissatou Koli.
Mother. We share the same mother.
I
was there from 11 up till 6 p.m. They did not give me food, they did not give me anything. They would not even allow me to perform my prayers.
Following his detention, he was later bailed by one Aissatou Koli. However, the witness said upon his release, two state agents officers escorted him to his house for a search. This created anxiety to his family, especially his aging mother, he said.
When we got there, they asked me the cost of, or how much I bought the seats that were in my room. They asked me how much I bought my television set for. Even my clothes, they asked me how much I bought them for.
Did you answer them? Did you tell them how much you bought them for? Or did you tell them to mind their own business?
Well, I did not tell them to mind my business, but when they asked me the cost of any of the items which I can recall, I will tell them. And those that I cannot recall, I will tell them that I cannot recall.
And what happened afterwards?
You will be from Ipareta, Ekonyeko Nata, Ataramba Mabia Kebata Baka New Queta.
They wrote it down, and once they were done, they asked me, "Let's go." But then my mother was there, and she was very advanced in age. They would not even allow me to go close to my family once we were at home. My mother cried. The reason why she cried was the fact that I am her only male child. And I am the only one with them.
In his narration to the commission, the businessman said under the leadership of Dembo Mbaye, All his land documents were taken away from him and handed over to Lalo Kante.
Lalo Kante kalita wola NIL officer ta ko abembu na kido la yamfa waranta enta kimoto la yamfa because wote mwanda katama simal.
Lalo Kante swore that he will either shoot me with a gun and kill me or knock me down with his vehicle because at the time I was using a motorbike.
Oh, NIL kuke jate lefta minna.
Or the NIA should do something that he, Lalo Kante, wants.
Onyamale inata yanna korata.
That was how they took over my house.
Compound. Is it?
Transfer nyimbe min ngabe de daya taya di Lalo Kante la.
They also took the transfer documents which I prepared and handed them over to Lalo Kante.
Who took the documents from you?
Jumale kaito luninta itebulo kono.
NIL.
The NIA.
Who in the NIA did that?
Jumale yoke NIA lukono.
Dembo Mbai. Atele be command Jewosilo Atelmila of Sokono Kebat.
Dembo Mbai, he was commanding them in that occasion.
He was very scared of the state agents because he viewed them as people who are life-threatening. According to him, he was later bailed by his sister at 6 p.m. and that he has to be reporting to the NIA office from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. without food, unless he took his own food. The reporting went on for a whole week, and it was a common harassment tactic adopted by the police and the National Intelligence Agency under the dictatorship. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Aissatou Tamba.
Victims of the then NIA, that's the National Intelligence Agency, continues to appear before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission. Next to Egypt, where millions of Egyptian voters have taken part in the fourth phase of the parliamentary elections in more than 10 administrations in the country. Well, despite the presence of the COVID-19 pandemic, citizens were still keen to fulfill their voting rights. However, the authorities did not relent in their efforts to provide a safe environment during the polling exercise. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Egypt has nearly 63 million eligible voters this year. Half of them should be heading to the polling station in the first phase of the parliamentary election in 14 governorships.
This is a duty of everybody who is eligible for election. That's why I came today on the first day to give my voice. The government has a project, and this project, I think it extends to 2030. Now the vehicle which is going to adopt this project and execute it will be the parliament. So it is very important that the elements of the parliament would be really keen, national, and giving.
Since 2011, securing the vote has been the country's major concern. The Egyptian armed forces and the police have intensified security around voting stations during every election. But this year, however, the country is more concerned about the danger of COVID-19 infections spreading during the vote.
There's a huge difference between the election process before and after the coronavirus. The polling stations get disinfected every 2 hours. Disinfection gear is provided to us in abundance. We cancel the phosphoric finger ink to mark voters for hygiene reasons. We have additional face masks too. If a voter does not have one, that won't prevent him from casting his ballot.
More than 1,400 ambulances have been stationed across the country to deal with any health emergencies that might arise. Fears of the pandemic and an apparent loss of voters' interest greatly affected the Senate elections in September. Only about 14% of voters turned out for the exercise. After a rather low voters' participation during last month's Senate election, turnout is going to be the main focus and the biggest challenge for this year's Egyptian parliament election.
Millions of Egyptians took part in parliamentary elections in the country, and from that report in Cairo, Egypt, we come back home and report also in parliamentary election matters in the Gambia, because the Independent Electoral Commission has approved the nomination of 2 candidates ahead of the highly anticipated Nyamina West by-elections. President Barrow's NPP party candidate Biram Sow and Yero Jallow of the opposition Gambia Democratic Congress will face up for a seat that was held by the latter during the 2017 parliamentary elections. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The candidates are expected to go through public scrutiny after their nominations were approved by the Commission's regional office in Janjanbureh. The by-election to be held on November 7th was long delayed due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic following the holder's demise in January 2019. The two candidates are both upbeat to succeed the late Demba Sow, who until his demise in January 2019 was the GDC NAM for the contested constituency. Speaking to journalists shortly after filing his nomination papers, Biram Sow of the National People's Party said he was confident of winning.
We are faced with a lot of challenges, development challenges. I am sure that the NPP and the ruling government is aware, because as we have said, right now they are addressing a lot of development challenges within CRR. And I am sure that with the newly baby born, that is I, the first candidate of the NPP, going to the House is a credit to Nyamina West. And I am sure that the President will now bring justice to Nyamina West for our development. I am so much hopeful.
Sow's claim was supported by Sidin Jai, a member of the National People's Party, who said their candidate is set for a landslide victory as the first elected official of the party.
West, as you can see in this nomination, they are ready to elect the first NPP elected officials with landslide. We are thinking of how big the margin is, and we are so confident the people of Nyamina West will vote him in, and the other candidates, they weren't able to get their deposit.
The Gambia Democratic Congress held the Nyamina West seat from 2017 to 2020, when its parliamentarian died. Yero Jallo, the party's new candidate for the area, said he would retain the seat. Jallo is hoping to gain the upper hand over the ruling party's candidate with the support of the opposition United Democratic Party, which has not fielded any candidate.
It's just a question, but I'm 100% sure I'm going to win. I can assure you, even if I don't win,
how confident are you?
I am 100% confident.
You believe that?
Oh yes. I've got all the support. Definitely yes. In fact, with the support of the UDP, it's going to make it quite easier. I can tell you this. Actually, it's not a coalition. It's not a coalition. I can tell you it's not a coalition. But they have weighed their support on the GDC, because they're not going to put up a candidate for the fact that this seat is for GDC. The late Honorable Demba Sow died. Nobody wishes that to happen, but because they sympathize, the family and the people of Nyamina, the UDP people say they are not going to put up a candidate because of that. So they are weighing their support. We don't have a coalition with them, but they're just weighing their support in respect to the late Honorable Demba Sow.
President Adama Barrow's newly formed National People's Party is participating in their first election contest, and the by-election is seen in some quarters as a popularity test for the president's party. Barrow intends to run for a second 5-year term in the forthcoming 2021 presidential elections.
And the Nyamina West elections is scheduled for November 7 as the candidates filed in their nomination, which has been approved by the Independent Electoral Commission. Next to Nigeria, where the NSAS demonstration continues, and Nigerians in London staged massive protests from Mabul Ash to the Nigerian High Commissioner on Sunday, expressing their frustrations over the arbitrary killings and abuse of power by the anti-robbery squad. The protesters are demanding reform in the governance and ending public brutality. Police brutality rather. Now let's have more details of that in this report by Sohna Tunkara.
Despite the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, demonstrators are still showing up on the streets of Nigeria. And recently, Nigerians in the UK took to the streets displaying placards reading "Buhari must go" and "End SARS," while approaching the country's High Commission office. The world is given a flash by the angry protesters to step in the fight against the instability taking tolls in the country.
I'm here because of my land. This is our land. Everyone will fight and die for their land. That's why I'm here. I'm not here for no reason. This is the only thing, and we want justice. We want justice. We know the international community, they're listening to us right now. We know the international community, they're hearing our message right now. We need to be heard. Justice needs to be served.
The Nigerian government decided to disperse protesters by sending riot police and army, who shot live bullets at the protesters, leading to the death of more than 60 and several other injured. 2 protesters, Aramed and Oba, marching with their placards, expressed disappointment in the manner the government and security officials operate in their country.
So the issue is that SARS, the Specialist Anti-Robbery Squad, is completely out of control. They have no accountability and they're abusing their power. I personally know people that have been victimized by them, and despite many platitudes from the Nigerian government that they still exist and they just keep reforming under other names and being allowed to do what they want with absolutely no repercussions.
I'm a Nigerian, I live in London, and I need Nigeria to know that wherever you are still a Nigerian. So that's why I'm here today, to join with everyone else to say it doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter where in the world we live, I'm still a Nigerian.
The protests, which erupted in October 8, were agitated after a video showing a man allegedly being killed by one of SARS members was published. Since then, the West African country is faced with uncertainty. However, the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari addressed the nation on Friday, appealing to the angry protesters to restore peace in the country. For iAfrica TV, Sohna Tungara.
#EndSARS protest continues as Nigerians in UK got to the street to express their frustrations. And from the report there by Sohna Tungara, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on iAfrica TV, and once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, Europe is experiencing the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a result, countries have tightened measures amid the surprise in cases of the virus. Governments across the world have been forced to limit public movement and close businesses and public venues in a bid to slow the spread of the virus. Caesar tells us more in this report.
As Europe was hoping it could put COVID-19 to rest, the number of cases of the virus has risen again in many European countries. Spain and France have become the first Western European countries to record more than 1 million cases. As a result, Spain has declared a state of emergency and enacted a new round of lockdowns countrywide as it battles a resurgence of coronavirus infections, according to reports. Several other countries have recorded their highest number of new infections since the start of the pandemic. Belgium currently has seen more than 10,700 deaths, as reported by Johns Hopkins University. Its authorities have ordered the closure of the country's cultural facilities on Saturday and announced a longer curfew beginning on Monday. Germany's death toll passed 10,000 according to latest data, which indicates that currently the country has 435,000 infections. Italy currently recorded more than 500,000 cases of the virus, with more than 37,000 deaths. As a result, the country has introduced a raft of new measures against the coronavirus, closing all bars and restaurants from early evening. Italians must also wear face masks indoors except in private homes. Russia is said to have reported 16,521 new coronavirus cases on Saturday, after hitting a record high of over 17,300 on Friday. And Russia has nearly 1.5 million confirmed cases, according to Johns Hopkins. But as economies have reopened and colder weather pushes people indoors, several countries are now reporting case numbers that are eclipsing records set in the spring. The pandemic is spreading rapidly again, even faster than it was at the start. However, researchers around the world are racing to develop a safe and effective vaccine against the infection, which has killed more than 1.1 million people globally and sickening more than 42 million. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Europe faces the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic as countries tighten up their, measures. Now, finally, to Uganda. Of course, we report again on matters of COVID-19 and its impact, because the impact of the coronavirus pandemic has affected the lives and livelihood of many people around the world. In Uganda, vulnerable families are largely struggling to put food on the table despite the government support during the lockdown. As we feature in this report, a Ugandan woman explained the challenges she faced to upkeep her family, since she was forced to resort to other options to provide food. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Amina Noor prepares the late afternoon meal. Maize bread is what her family of 11, most of them children, will have.
I'll cook again this time tomorrow. We don't have as much food as before.
The 30 kilograms of maize flour and beans given to her by the government during the lockdown ran out quicker than she hoped. Amina has been able to supplement meals with vegetables from her small garden, but she says it's not been enough. Her family has sometimes had to do with just a single meal a day. It's been tough, she says.
If I had a piece of land, maybe we'd have something different to eat, because I would farm that land.
Like Amina, many urban families have had limited options of food during the 7 months of the national COVID-19 lockdown. According to a national food security report released in June, lockdown restrictions led to an increase in food consumption gaps in both urban and rural households.
Where appropriate and in line with the government approach on inclusive development and ensuring food and nutrition security for vulnerable groups, government will continue to promote targeted strategic public sector investments in this area and programs such as OWC, or Operation Wealth Creation, and extension services in the country.
While Uganda has eased its COVID-19 restrictions, allowing public transport to operate, there are still challenges in access to food. Experts are, however, optimistic the second season harvests in November will improve food availability. And that could mean more food for Amina, whose family depends on purchases to meet their food needs.
Vulnerable families in Uganda struggled for food amid the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you in this news bulletin. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on to our website on africa.tv. But again, you can also join my colleague Ibrahim John at 19:30 GMT, 7:30 local time for the Gambia 24 News Bulletin. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and bye for now.